Just to give you a little background to this, the supply chain, as most of you know, is getting tougher to manage and more vulnerable. OEMs are outsourcing engineering, requiring a much closer relationship between supplier and customer than in traditional build-to-print situations. Suppliers are being required to make substantial upfront investments even before they get the contract. Since no one wants to pay for inventory sitting on a shelf, everything runs just in time, and the supply chain is vulnerable to delays and problems that may occur many links away. A proposed solution has been partnership, but many simply apply that word to what is really a traditional subcontracting relationship. Yet partnership looks quite different. In summary, in traditional subcontracting, each party looks out for its own interests, and the relationship is primarily governed by the contract. If it's not in the contract, they don't care about it. In partnership, each party is looking out for the cumulative set of interests from all partners, and the contract is only referred to in desperation when all else has failed. So if you're a customer, you're as concerned that your supplier makes the profit that it wants as much as you're concerned with getting a price that you need. And that is a new concept for a lot of companies. In a true partnership, when a problem occurs, each party asks, how can I make this work for all the partners? Today, our panelists from 5 major A&D companies will look at what are the characteristics of a great supplier partnership for their company. So first, I want to introduce Bob Thompson from Lockheed Martin Space Systems. I know you have the bio. This is a little summary of it, but I want you to get who's sitting up here. Bob Thompson's last 16 years at Lockheed Martin have been concentrated in the field of supplier programs, where he leads the supplier diversity small business efforts for Lockheed Martin Space Systems Company, one of the 4 business units of Lockheed Martin. As a senior manager for supplier programs, Bob is responsible for the company's supplier-related initiatives, and there's a whole bunch of them. Bob is no stranger to advocating on behalf of small businesses throughout the country. He served on the Industry Council for Small Business Development, Western Region Minority Supplier Development Council, and the MDA Small Business Advocacy Council. During his 30-plus years with Lockheed Martin Space Systems, California, he's been in material operations, been a data center supervisor, and implemented the product data management system. He also received his certification as a green belt in the disciplines of Lean and Six Sigma. Please welcome Bob Thompson of Lockheed.
I think one of the questions that Ivan was going to ask is, what are the characteristics? There's a whole host of characteristics that make up what a good partnership is. I picked 2 to share with you guys today. And those 2 would be ethics. Lockheed has a very strong ethics policy, and we would hope that our partners would also establish a very strong ethic policy within their companies. The second, Ivan alluded to also, is to look for or to create a win-win situation. I was in a class at Lockheed, and the instructor had us all chip in $3 or $4, and she divided the room in half, and she gave us objectives. We went out, we negotiated, came back, impasse, went back, came back. Time ran out. The instructor kept the money. But she said that isn't the way it had to be. You could have found a win-win situation to where both parties could have won. In a partnership, you have to look for that win-win situation. I think the way to go about that, he also mentioned, is you have to start off with subcontracting. And in subcontracting, I think you really need to know about the business that you're going after. So I'm going to give you a little intro to Lockheed Martin, and I think you have to start off in procurement or in subcontracting, and then you work up to a partnership. So it's like marriage, partnership. You have to date, well, I hope you date, before you get married. So, right, you need to do some subcontracting work, either with Lockheed or Boeing or Northrop or one of the other panelists up here, in order to get to that level to where you're ready to do partnership. So I said we have 4 business areas. If you can see, there's 5 up there, and I didn't change that. There's 5 up there, and that's because the one in purple, fuchsia, whatever color that is, Information Systems and Global Solutions, was recently broken up. Part of that came to space, part of that went to MST, and the rest was sold off to Leidos. So as the last speaker that was very good, talked about cybersecurity, we were the #1 IT provider to the US government. So now we'll keep some of that, and some of that is going over to Leidos. The 4 remaining business areas have very strong manufacturing capabilities. Aeronautics, F-35, missiles and fire controls, you may think about the THAAD missile. MST, you think about Aegis or the Littoral Combat Ship. Or in space, you might think about a GPS satellite or an advanced EHF satellite. And then down at the bottom, I think we're all looking at international and what we can do to increase. So I heard some talk about that also. This breaks it down a little bit further. So in aeronautics, you're talking about tactical fighters, you're talking about airlifts. Within space, you're talking about civil, global communication, human space flight. All this information is out on the web. You can find out this information. I think it's important for you to do your homework and figure out where you want to go. So if you go down one level further, I'm looking just at space. So within space, we have all these different areas to where you could potentially participate, get on a subcontract, work your way to a partnership. And I'm not going to go through those. You guys can read all those. The main thing about that is there's even a level underneath what I just showed you. So programs, what those programs are doing, information is out there. Did they get a new contract? Did they get a modification? Is something going on? That information is yours. So do your homework. Study our website and our programs. And then we have a number of different ways for you to connect with us if you're new to Lockheed Martin. And if you have experience with one of the other major primes, you can let us know that. You have an AS certification, you need to let us know that. You need to work to market to get yourself an opportunity to subcontract with us. And once you do that, you need to perform. We prefer 100% quality, 100% on time. We understand that we don't always get that. But if you're looking at partnership, you need to be very darn close to that if you're looking at partnerships. Going back on that one page, I have some booklets later on that I can give you guys that have information, so you don't have to take copious notes at this point. If you want to get to any of our SPLOs, we have roughly 35 to 40 SPLOs across the corporation. You can send an email if you know the business area you want to go to, and that resource mailbox will get to that appropriate business area. So, know all the key programs in the area, partners, aware of the requirements, integrate with business development and contracts, some basic stuff that you need to do to get to partnerships. Understand that the SPLOs are here for you. We're advocates for you. We want to see you succeed. That's what we do. We get paid twice. At least I get paid twice. I get paid by Lockheed to come out here and do this, but when it works for you, it's also a personal payment that I get. So I'm an advocate for you, and I want it to happen. Make initial contacts. I can give a whole briefing on this alone. Have a very brief, concise value proposition that you can provide us. We're going to take that back. We're going to use that to try to get you information in front of the right people. But it's important that it's brief. Don't want a long dissertation about everything you do. It's going to get lost. So work on a value proposition, 30 seconds to a minute, and if we're interested, we'll ask for more. Trust me, we will. Or if we don't understand, we'll ask for more. It's like in the movie Jerry Maguire, help us to help you, right? So the more that I know, the better I am to go back and articulate your capabilities to someone within the office, the better off you are. Help me to help you. Show me the money comes later. Your business cards are your first line of defense. A good business card should use both sides. If you're only using one side, you're wasting the real estate. Some information that I recommend you put in your business cards, because when we get them back to the office, that's the one piece of information that we have, really, to tell us who we talked to, what your capabilities were, looking at a two-sided piece of paper, right? So information is important. Things we look for, and I think you're going to find this on all of us, and so I'm not going to go through all those, but you can read those. Your socioeconomic status is important to us. It is. We have requirements that come down from far, and we try to attain those goals. But that's not the most important. The most important is what you bring to the table. If you're building an ice cream sundae, you have to come with 3 flavors, in my opinion, 3 flavors of ice cream, and they have to be high quality, right? That's the basis of the ice cream sundae, which translates to your product or service has to be quality. When you add the whipped cream, the nuts, the cherry, the fudge, whatever else you might want to put on your ice cream sundae, that to me is the socioeconomic status. It makes it better. However, if you put the whipped cream, nuts, cherries by itself, what happens? There's no substance there. You got to have that main ingredient that holds everything together. This is a picture of our website that we have out there for your information, for your usage. It's called Supplier Wire. And if you see the orange box, they talk about all the things that we have out there. So we have webinars, live chats, educational videos, supplier testimonies, immediate needs. So if we're having trouble finding something out of our database or we can't contact another one of our competitors, we have an immediate needs bullet. So we compete, but we also help each other when it comes to supplier diversity. That's different, but that's that win-win, working for you, small business. Directories, partnerships, and Veterans Corner. So again, the little booklet that I have, it'll provide you all this information, so you don't need to write down a link at this time. But a plethora of information out there to help you get in contact with Lockheed Martin and potentially become a supplier and then to become a partner. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Contrary to the belief of many in the machining industry, having a 5-axis milling machine and being AS certified is not a differentiating factor. That was a joke. Too many of you believe that it is. It's like having pads and a helmet if you're going to play football. It just gets you in the game, but it's not differentiating. And most companies do not know what the differentiating factor is. And I'll leave it there. Next, I'd like to introduce Camille Geiger, the Boeing Company. Luckily, we're staying on that side. Camille is the Senior Manager of Small Diverse Business and Strategic Alliances for Boeing Defense, Space, and Security, BDS. In this role within BDS supplier management function, she works with Boeing programs and functions to ensure fulfillment of all contractual obligations through an integrated strategic framework of subcontracting with small and diverse businesses. This effort includes responsibility for small business reporting and regulatory compliance to multiple federal government agencies, as well as the development of initiatives to expand innovative research partnerships in the support of Boeing's business objectives. Camille also serves as the Small Business Liaison Office for the Boeing Company. As such, she is responsible for maintaining and improving company relationships with the federal government on matters related to small business subcontracting and supplier diversity. In addition, if that wasn't enough, she leads the integration and strategic alignment of Boeing's small business geopolitical initiatives with the government and other key stakeholders and industry affiliates. She's held numerous prior jobs at Boeing and has received many awards, and if I listed them, it would take the whole time. So, Camille, what's the characteristics of a great supplier relationship with Boeing?
Thank you, Ivan. So Boeing has several leadership attributes, and one of them is setting high expectations. And I think that is one of the best characteristics that really puts together our supplier partnerships with our suppliers. we hold ourselves to very, very high standards, and we also hold our suppliers to those same high standards. It's part of our partnership. It's part of our journey going forward. How many of you have ever traveled on a Boeing commercial airplane? So you understand why we set the high expectations that we do. There is absolutely no compromise ever for anything substandard in the Boeing Company. We expect that of ourselves, our customers expect it, and our suppliers expect that of us, and we expect that of them. Boeing connects, protects, explores, and inspires. We connect families, we connect friends, we connect you from country to country across the U.S., across the world. Our war fighters, we protect them with our products and solutions, and they protect us. And so again, they deserve flawless products and services that enable them to do what they need to do to keep us safe and strong. We explore space. And space exploration is a very large part of our next journey. And as you all know, once you get in space, if there's an issue with a product or a service that we provide, it's a pretty big issue. It takes a while to get back and forth, and it has to be resolved there. And so we just need to make sure that it's always correct the first time. And then, of course, Boeing wants to inspire our supply base to provide solutions, to think outside the box, to come with us on an everyday part that you might be providing, or a design. And come to us and say, you know, we've been building this for a while, but there's some things out there, we've got a new technique, and here's how we can make that part better. And we also want to partner with you to provide some of those solutions that will help you. So today I'm going to go through and share some information, a little bit about the Boeing Company. I want to share a little bit about our supplier management organization and how we engage with our suppliers. And then I want to share some things on what you can do to create a competitive advantage for yourself, but also some additional characteristics on how you work with the Boeing Company. Before I go into that real quickly, I'd like to thank USC and SoCal for this wonderful event. I think there's been such a wealth of information. It's been a really long day, but everyone continues to be so engaged. And I just wanted to give a round of applause to the folks who are organizing this. I also wanted to thank Libby for all her coordination. I know I probably drove her crazy, and so thank you, Libby. Appreciate it. And then lastly, I have some folks on my team here. I'd like for them to stand up so you can see who they are, because they can help our small businesses navigate the Boeing system. I'll give you some information on our website, but there's nothing better than to be able to contact straight out a person within our organization that you can have some of those personal conversations. So that would be Raul Alvarado, Melissa Adain, Alejandra Loza, and Varric Williams. So, thank you. Let's see here. Okay, so the Boeing Company. In July of this year, we celebrated 100 years. A historical event for the Boeing Company. We are the leading producer of commercial and military aircraft. And what you'll see there on the bottom is a series of logos of different companies that have made up the Boeing Company. We are a global company with products and services in more than 150 companies, and last year we had revenues of about $96 billion. And we have partnerships with companies around the world, do a lot of research and design, not only in the U.S., but also around the world. And we have contracts with more than 20,000 suppliers and partners globally. One thing I'd like to point out, and I think it's relevant to all the small businesses in the room, is that the Boeing Company started out as a small business. And each of those logos you see there all started out as small businesses. So we have a very special interest with small business and a dedication and commitment, not just because it's required on our government programs, but we also have small business programs on our commercial programs where it's not required. But we've never forgotten that we started out as a small business and we grew to become a large business, and so that's where our roots are. A little bit about some of our products and services. We have our commercial airlines division. It is headquartered in Seattle, Washington. There's a series of what we call 7 Series aircraft, as I think I saw almost all the hands go up. So I know that you're all familiar with our aircraft if you travel, and I'm sure I could do a poll about what your favorite Boeing aircraft is to travel on. But being that I'm between the rest of this panel and you getting on the freeway on your way home tonight, I won't spend any more time on that. Our defense, space, and security business is in our St. Louis office in Missouri. So that is the headquarters of our defense side of the business. We have many offices across the U.S. In the Southern California area, specifically, we have offices here in El Segundo, where we also have the world's largest satellite factory. In fact, if you, on coming to the airport, you usually pass Nash Street. Our facility is located on Nash Street. And for those of you who might remember the Nash Rambler car, it was a vehicle, so I don't know, in the 50s, I guess, or 60s, somebody told me about it. But I've never seen one, but Boeing's satellite factory is where they used to produce the Nash Rambler car. So a little bit about our business units. On our Boeing Defense side of the business unit, those are some of our different segments. So again, military aircraft, networks and space systems that not only include our satellite, but some of our missile defense programs as well. Global services and support, a huge area of growth for the Boeing Company. We provide services, support, and solutions for many of our Boeing our platforms. And then also BDS development, which is an extension of that. And again, very specialized organization for some new development. And then lastly, our Phantom Works organization. Our Phantom Works organization is really cutting edge technology, incorporating a lot of R&D, a lot of cyber technology. Any suppliers here in the room work on any of the small business innovation research projects? No? No cyber suppliers here? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. That's a great every opportunity. One, I see. Great. Thank you. Our Boeing commercial aircraft, here are some major components of that organization. They fall into structures, interiors, systems. CAS is our commercial aviation services. So just like on the defense side of the business where we have a services and support organization, we have it as well in our commercial area. Common commodities and propulsion. We're always looking for suppliers in those areas. And again, had our team stand up. But if you have a specific capability in any of those areas, along with cybersecurity, systems integration, engineering software, those are areas that we'd like to talk to you about. So shared services organization. Our shared service organization is the organization where really it's shared services across the Boeing Company. All right, I'm going to flip through quickly. Supplier management. So in our supplier management organization, I'm not going to read through this, but this is just some data about our programs, services, and operations over the last year. One thing right here I'd like to just share about Boeing's strategy to supplier management organization. It's our suppliers. Your reputation's our reputation. We talked about that. Quality, delivery, cost, and then also just the services that you provide on support. We expect high performance, quality, and delivery from our suppliers, and I'd like to just give a shout out to our small businesses because they actually outperform our large suppliers. So congratulations to small businesses. This is a Partnering for Success. We expect lean initiatives, and we put that throughout our functions and also help our small businesses so that you can compete more competitively, but also bring those to the table. This is a quick chart about our supplier diversity organization and initiatives. One thing I'd just like for the veterans in the room, congratulate you, let you know that Boeing has an initiative where we not only hire veterans, but also we try to subcontract as much work as we can to our veterans and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Really excited about the second year in a row we've received the Champions of Veteran Award for exceeding the statutory goals in our E&IS division. So expectations of our suppliers, I think you're going to hear some of our other folks talk about this, so I'm not going to elaborate a lot, but you could read through those quickly. Some considerations. The more certificates that you have and certifications, those are really important to Boeing, and it does set you apart from other folks and suppliers. So please come to the table with those certifications. We expect them of our entire supply base, large and small. And then this is my last chart. So how do you become a supplier to the Boeing Company? We'd like for you to go to this website. I also have some cards with that website. Go in, enter in all your information, but please do not expect that you're going to get an RFP tomorrow. It is why we come to these events and we bring folks here so that we can have a more detailed conversation about what you do and then connect you to the right program managers and engineers who can help you navigate the system. Thank you.
Having worked for General Electric, Emerson, and Bloom Energy, Jeff is currently the VP Supply Chain and Global Sourcing with AeroVironment, a company that designs, develops, produces, supports, and operates a technologically advanced portfolio of products and services for government agencies, businesses, and consumers. AV supplies unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, tactical missile systems, and related services primarily to organizations within the U.S. Department of Defense, or DoD. AV also supplies charging systems and services for electric vehicles. What a combination. I've never figured out how they got those two. Or VEVs, and power cycling and test systems to commercial, consumer, and government customers. Jeff has more than 25 years of experience as a supply chain and operations professional, having worked in China, India, Mexico, and Eastern Europe, with experience involving operational management, startups, restructuring, and supply chain management. Please welcome Jeff Fagen from AeroVironment.
I'm going to go through just a little bit as well on the company. We're not as out there as a lot of the folks that are up here today, so maybe just a little bit of background. There was a nice shout out earlier from the gentleman from Price Waterhouse that was talking about the drones and the company in general, but just in case, again, it's a young company by relative relation to the people today, founded in 1971. We have had a nice period of growth over the past decade or 12 years, about 15% compounded annual growth. That's not quite a Google growth, but it's a nice growth company in a general sense. Right now, we have about an 85% share of all of the inventory that the government has of unmanned aircraft. So, and we still, in that small space that we operate in, are the #1 provider globally for that equipment to the worldwide defense organizations. We're also a leader in the EV charging systems. The company really started out with that. Basically, the EV1 from General Motors was pretty much designed and built here in Simi Valley by AeroVironment, and then all the charging systems that went with that electric car. And we've kind of continued on with that. It's a very successful part of our business, a very large part of our business as well. So generally speaking, right now, the idea behind the company is to provide the details and the information that allows our customers to basically proceed with whatever detail that they can. When you're out trying to make a decision on a target, the amount of intelligence and detail that you can get is omnipresent today, and especially in today's environment when we talk about collateral damage and different things in the operations theater. It's really important to have as much clarity as you can. And so all these things that we're doing today are basically allowing our customers, whether that be somebody operating in one of the foreign theaters or whether that be a farmer trying to decide how much water to put down on his grapes up in Sonoma, really to allow him to proceed with the certainty that he needs to be able to operate in his environment. Again, we're really focused on trying to leverage out a lot of the technologies and the growths that are coming through the system. A lot of detail today on the network that's going on with our equipment, being able to really get into the details, the analysis and interpretation. Again, a lot of farmers are looking at the detail that can come off a UAV or an unmanned air vehicle or a drone, and it's very interesting to them. They really don't know what to do with it. And in some cases, the value associated with that has to help. They have to help discern what that value is. And so we're really focused on the software solutions as well as just being able to have the device fly over a field for as long as possible to provide us the prettiest pictures. It's much more than that. And how you stitch all that data together, how you provide information back is becoming more and more important. It helps people understand the value that they're really looking at. And then on the electric car side, you know, the technology is ever changing. You know, we've got very nice plug-in devices that in 5 years probably aren't going to be really that widely available because people are going to be driving over a mat in their garage and they're going to be doing wireless charging. So the technology curve on all of this equipment and all of this material is very fast, very quick, and people are, we need to stay incredibly focused on how we do and what we're focused on from an engineering perspective. A lot smaller company, $260 to $300 million in sales means that we don't buy as much as a lot of these other companies that are up here today. About $80 million in purchases over the course of a year. It runs the gambit. There's obviously a lot of composites, PCs and components, a lot of small microelectronic motors and batteries, which is kind of obvious with an electric plane, right? We have a lot of contract manufacturing relationships and a lot of indirect relationships, whether it be with engineering or IT services or whatever that might be, design services. And we work globally, but we're very much a domestic source, and for that matter, we're located in Simi Valley. We're pretty regional. You could probably look at 75 to 80% of our purchases to support specifically the defense piece of our business or the flight vehicle piece of our business being within 4 to 6 hours of the area. And we're very focused on that. That leads to a lot of small business involvement. We have a very nice small business program, and it's been recognized by the government as being very good. So, in order for you to know how to be a good supplier, you need to know what I'm interested in. Not necessarily, you know, what you're interested in, but what I'm interested in. So from a general standpoint, as we're working through our programs here at AV, we're really trying to optimize the supply chain program, not as a function in and of itself, because I don't sell anything. We're really offering a service within supply chain in general. And so how we can optimize that through the whole business is really important. Obviously, we want to eliminate the root causes of stress, simplify the whole the logistics network. Digitizing the supply chain becomes very important in how we do that and how you interact with us. Just don't have time today to answer 100 emails and try and detail what we're trying to do. We're a small business. We don't have a lot of resources. It's really important that you're able to interact with us correctly. We want to utilize a wide set of tools. We're not just going to basically worry about our Oracle system and nothing else. And really, really heavily involved in new product development, so that we make sure that we're making good decisions going forward that are going to be sustainable as we go through the process. Whether that be a dual sourcing process, which a lot of suppliers don't necessarily like to hear, but we really need to be, or life cycle management, whatever that might be, it's really important at that new product standpoint. We've got a team that's very young and inexperienced in many cases. We're trying to really work our team and really, and this is important to you too as a supplier, but it's important to us. I have to be very obsessive as again, as a service provider to my business, that I get buy-in from my management team and our team in general. It does no good if the engineering team isn't satisfied with the services we're offering. So in general, as you're looking to support us from as a supplier, if these are the things that are important to me, it's important that you understand how you're going to support us within that endeavor. So, a little more detail on what that might mean. Obviously, we're trying to optimize our supply chain as we do that. Just as was mentioned earlier, we don't want to have any inventory, right? Well, we're a little more realistic than that. But generally speaking, we have to balance those activities of lead time, inventory, and forecast to be able to make good decisions and support our customers. And it's speed through the process. We need to make sure that everybody is able to run with much less than 180-day lead time. It just doesn't work in our business. We're a very forward-leaning company, and a lot of times the government is basically pressing us to get stuff into theater tomorrow that they basically figured out they needed yesterday. So speed through the process is really important. Technology support. Again, small company, we're leaning on a lot of people to do things from an engineering perspective, from a human resources perspective, from an analysis perspective that perhaps they're not familiar or comfortable doing, but you're going to have to get good at it to be a supplier for us long term. Do you invest to stay current? There was a lot of conversations earlier today about making sure that you keep up with your capital, make sure that you keep up with your IT infrastructure. If you don't, you won't be able to keep up with us either, or any of the people that are here at the tables today. Compliance, ethics is obvious. It's going to be mentioned by everybody, I'm sure, up here today. I'm the third person to mention it. I'm sure the other two will as well. And compliance, very important. It does no good for you, just as was mentioned by Camille, to come over and say that you are going to want to supply basically what is a defense operator, not have the certifications and recognize the basics of ITAR and so forth and the FAR clauses. And then good suppliers generally are going to meet more than the minimum requirements. You're going to have programs that operate under continuous improvement. You're going to have to be a team player with us, getting involved in our engineering, getting involved in our programs and how we're building things together. You're going to have to be flexible, because again, we're going to ask you to do things that you're probably not used to doing or haven't done before, but offer you a tremendous opportunity if you can pull them through. You got to communicate well. I mean, again, the idea of sending me a bunch of emails or our team a bunch of emails, you've got to be able to do that throughout the business. We're very comfortable letting people go outside of not trying to funnel everything through a supply chain person. But boy, if you don't copy them, that's kind of a faux pas there that it's not going to work as well. And then focus. You got to be focused on what you can do. It does no good to stretch way beyond your bounds if you're not going to be able to accomplish what you're going to accomplish those things. So generally speaking, that's what we're trying to get done at AV.
So next, Michelle Martelli from from Parker Aerospace. Michelle recently joined Parker Aerospace as the Group Commodity Manager. Her primary focus is the alignment of the 5 aerospace divisions in terms of sourcing and commodity strategy and execution. She has 15 years of experience in supply chain and operations, including roles at GE Aviation, Circor Aerospace, and Motorola. In her role prior to Parker, she worked as a site P&O leader for GE Aviation in Santa Ana. This role was responsible for customer programs, new business, and the overall health of the business. Unlike other GE Aviation facilities, 50% of the revenue was generated through build-to-print. It brought a unique perspective around supplier-customer relationships after 15 years in the supply chain. Please welcome Michelle from Parker Aerospace.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Originally, my boss was going to take this since he's been with Parker for 18 years, and I have been there less than 2 months. But he had a corporate meeting, so I didn't ask him anything about what I should present. So some of it's my perspective, and then I pulsed the team to see what they would do as well. So, but I want to digress just for a minute about some of the stuff we talked about this morning. The outlook that the DoD has and some of the other people did about Southern California and the manufacturing. As I've learned about Parker in the last 2 months, I've done a lot of commodity reviews with my teams, and I will say that my #1 supplier in manifolds is in Southern California for pistons and spools and sleeves. So these are my highest cost commodities, but my highest complex commodities as well. And we always do market studies to see if we're getting the best cost, regardless of the region, and these particular suppliers always come out on top. And so they're obviously grow suppliers for the fact that they are marketable, but also they've got some attributes that I want to talk about. So I'm going to go a little bit off of some of the measurable and start talking about maybe the softer side of the partnership as well. So I really look at a partnership as a basis of trust. So you have one side that's all your competencies, and I expect that you're going to have all the same certificates as everybody else does on this panel. But I also expect that you invest in your business and that you understand your business. If you tell me you're making a 1% profit, I'm going to be really scared to grow you. And I know some people do that as a way to defend against getting a price down from me, but it doesn't really defend. It creates fear in the customers. So having a really healthy supplier is quite important to us. We want you to invest, we want you to grow, and if you have the right attitude and behaviors, which is the other side of trust, we really do commit to those particular suppliers. So why do I trust certain people versus others? I'll talk about the company that does the manifolds. So these are really complicated manifolds. There's 1,500 points of inspection on some of these critical features. And so we need to be able to trust that they're going to give us good product. We also know it's not always going to be perfect because it's the toughest product. But the fact that they'll continuously improve, the fact that they have open and honest communication when they're going to be late, well in advance of it happening, and the fact that they put their hand up for help. These are the reasons that we partner with them versus just the vendor-customer relationship that I think is more transactional. Maybe some of the simpler parts, but depending on how many SKUs you have, a simple part can also be a partnership. So I think these guys, we started with them. I think we probably did 10 million. I think we'll do close to 50 with them at some point. And they continue to grow. And we've told them you have to stay competitive. We will continue to price you out. But we also do LTAs. I mean, you know, we work for our company, so obviously we got to be kind of tough. We can't be too soft. I did a commodity review, and we talked a little bit about other things that we would do to grow suppliers and why we would have somebody as a sustain. Sustain is usually we don't understand your capacity. You really haven't given us a value proposition. We don't know what you do. So somebody gave you work somewhere along the line, and that's all you got. And you guys are, you know, cutting chips, and that's kind of the only thing that goes. So I think I'm talking more about machining suppliers than anything. I want to talk about exits. So why do we exit somebody? And I'm going to give you a personal example. When I took over as a P&L leader, I was an exit site for Sikorsky. So I was told by the buyer that it was their goal in life to exit my site. Everything on the competence side we had failed on. We were late, we disrupted their line, and our quality wasn't to what we said it was going to be. And on the flip side, on the other side, instead of being humble, we were arrogant, we were rude, and we basically told them, this is what we're going to do for you. So the two together didn't make for the greatest partnership that I got to walk into. So my job was to turn that around because it was 50% of my business, and I had 168 people that depended on me for it. And that's how I went about trying to fix my business and the relationship. It wasn't about like, what am I going to put on my resume? What am I going to do, you know, for my next career at GE? It was very much about 168 people and being able to send them home with a paycheck. So I rallied the team, and this is something that I think sometimes people forget. It's not just program managers, it's not just sales guys. It's when I walk through the shop that your machinist can actually tell me about my part. It's about selling as an entire company and what kind of value you can bring from a relationship standpoint. So after a year and a half of us doing everything we possibly could. We did save the business, and so it was a really positive outcome for us, and I just want to talk about, it took us a year and a half of 12-hour days to repair a relationship, whereas maintaining and improving is a lot easier. So trust to me is really about being honest with me and making sure that, it is a two-way street with us. We don't expect to grind you down to a nickel, though we are there for, our own profitability as well, but we don't want to put you out of business. So it needs to be a two-way street and communication about when you have to say no to me.
Okay, our last but certainly not least speaker is Vicki Harper-Hall from Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems. Vicki manages the strategically important small business and global supplier diversity program for Northrop Grumman's aerospace systems sector. In this position, she oversees all aspects of sector programs related to all types of small business. I couldn't list them all, such as small disadvantaged business, women-owned, veteran-owned, and service-disabled veteran-owned small business. As part of helping ensure Northrop Grumman's competitive position in the defense industry, Harper-Hall also guides the company's work in surveying and assessing potential small business partners and works to increase those partners' participation in government and commercial contracts. She is the person to know. Harper-Hall also provides guidance to small business liaison officers at aerospace systems sites, maintains U.S. government customer approval of the small business program and master subcontracting plan, and executes procedures to ensure compliance. Harper-Hall has also had numerous previous Northrop Grumman assignments. Too many to list here. Please welcome Vicki Harper-Hall from Northrop Grumman.
Basically, I'm going to talk about the characteristics, and they've all hit on them: ethics, honesty, doing what you say you can do. So as a supplier to Northrop Grumman, we're looking for those folks that's going to step outside the box, find ideas. You have ideas as small businesses, or you wouldn't be in business. And some of those great ideas come from the small businesses. We're looking for you to bring those to the table for Northrop Grumman. So I'm going to talk about your credibility. We want you to be credible. We want your quality to stand up high, just like everybody else, because our customers are looking for quality in everything that we do. Whether you're a buyer, whether you're the guy sweeping the floor, whether you're an engineer, whether you're the president of the corporation, we're looking for leadership in everybody. That means you too, as a small business. We're looking for you to be leaders in what you do. So also, we're looking for you to deliver your products and services on time. But one of the things I have to tell you, everything is built on relationships. You start out, find out a little bit about the person you're working with, because those relationships are what's going to get you through the hard times. And there are going to be hard times. We can't deny that. But we are looking for you as small businesses to step up to the plate and really bring your A game to the table. Your proven past performance, you have past performance, whether you started your company yesterday or whether you started your company 20 years ago. Most of you started out in a major corporation somewhere in your lifetime. So bringing those things and those qualities and characteristics to the table are important as well. You meet us at conferences and trade shows. I tell people this, and they all talked about emails. We get thousands of emails. We all get thousands of emails, but we're there for you. So if you don't get me on that email, I've already told most of you that talked to me today, my cell number is on my Outlook message. Just pick it up and call. I answer until midnight. So it goes off at midnight. Your niche, we really want you to have your niche market. All of you have niche markets or areas of expertise that you work within. We want you to tell us about those niche markets. I think there's some gentlemen, there's a few companies here today that are working, but they're sub-tiers to us. You might have an opportunity to do direct subcontracting with us, as opposed to going through a subcontractor. So some of the things that we're doing, you guys heard a lot about Northrop Grumman from Kevin this morning. He is a great leader. He is my vice president of the organization. And I will tell you, he's put a team together where we strategically meet and we present to him. So the team includes strategic sourcing, procurement, subcontracts, and my Global Supplier Diversity Organization. So we present to him on what we need to do differently. It's no longer business as usual. We have to step outside of what we are normally used to doing and do things a little bit differently. We can't say that these procurements are going to just go to the big guys. Northrop Grumman actually, you guys heard Kevin talk about the COEs. We've stood up a lot of COEs, but within those COEs that we've stood up, we said to the guys, in our procurement RFPs that we put out, we basically stated, we want 27% of this procurement to go to the small business community, and these are the subcategories out of that procurement. So even though you might be a large guy and you win the subcontract, you can manage these guys for us, but we're going to place the purchase order. But it's that important to Northrop Grumman that we want to make sure that the small businesses are getting their fair share of work. You guys operate over 80 to 90% of the employment base in the United States is operated by small businesses. You guys employ most of the United States population. So that's important to us. It's extremely important to the government customers. As you can tell by this program, the AMP Southern California and the other panelists that you've heard today is very passionate for us. I get very emotional because my dad was a small business owner as well. So I understand what you go through on a daily basis. It's important. Keep fighting, keep staying out there, and keep pursuing your dreams, because that's what makes the American dream happen. So that is all I have to say, because I know I'm standing between you and that freeway, and I am available to you. So Libby, Dion, Deepak, Leonard, thank you very much for tapping into Northrop Grumman. Even though it was not in my budget, it was most important for me to spend it. I'll figure out how to make that up later, but it was very important for you guys to come to Northrop. Thank you very much.
Your contracts sometimes are very big and your subcontracts are very big, because I mean, a 747 has thousands of elements. And for many small businesses in the US, we cannot direct bid on it. And it's hard for us to find really to who the contract for a certain part goes. So what kind of, do you have meetings, or you have it on the webpage where to find where your subcontractor is, that we can work with your subcontractor and make offer to the subcontractors?
We do have on our Boeing website tons of information about our programs and products, and we often have information about some of our key subcontractors. But depending on, I'm sorry, there's this like little bug here. But depending on what it is you provide and where it is in that subcontract, the second or third tier levels, I suggest just try to get with me or my team, and we'll try to connect you with the right program manager for whatever that product or part is, that component, and then they can help drill you down to some of our sub-tiers for support.
Thank you. First of all, I'd just like to thank all of the panelists for their presentations. Really much appreciated, and to have you here as well has been fantastic. I have a general question for everyone. Over the past couple of years, there's been more talk about shared cost. I heard early in one of the presentations about investment, supplier investment, and not just in themselves, but do you see in the near future or in future where you're going to be requiring suppliers to co-invest in development of some of your programs, or new parts or new elements of your programs?
For Northrop Grumman, we have had that practice with a lot of our team members. So that is happening. It's happening more and more on the major proposals that we're dealing with. So those investments are happening with the large OEMs or competitor mates and partners.
Let's give one last round of applause to our wonderful